Coming to you straight from the Rio Grande and beyond. Broadcasting to the four corners of the globe. So grab your seat, your coffee, or your sundowner.
Okay, everybody, here we go.
On point, as always. This is Gloves Off. Gloves Off.
Wherever you call home, we are there. In favorite places. Large spaces. For many homes, we have coverage that fits the way you live. And with our home systems protection, you can cover major home appliances and more. We cover more type of homes than ever. Get the coverage you and your family deserves. For a free no obligation quote, visit us online or simply give us a call.
We're back at you in Gloves Off, and today I have a great martial art leader, Grandmaster Richard Hackworth, and we're touching base on martial arts is a lifestyle. Regardless of what style you do, fighting, preference, or what have you, where you're training, it's a lifestyle. And we're also going to touch base on the book that he wrote, which emphasizes that. Good morning. How are we doing, Grandmaster? Are you doing good?
Oh, I'm doing very well, sir, and it's an honor to be here with you again. And I'm glad you mentioned the book. I'm the author of Be a Life Champion: The Martial Arts Way, and it's primarily about encouraging everyday people to look at the martial arts as a lifestyle option. I use it as like a mentoring tool for the people that are my students. It's more about mentoring than just teaching techniques. Because whether you're trying to improve yourself mentally, physically, spiritually, the martial arts is a path to doing that. It doesn't interfere with religion. And I like to mention that too, because I've had people tell me that, well, I can't do martial arts because I'm Christian or whatever. I said, listen, when I was a kid, I took boxing and wrestling training from a Catholic priest at our community center. And I don't think that taking his boxing class ever made me a better Catholic. So you don't have to worry about that kind of thing going on with the type of martial arts training that we do. And I know that, I want to congratulate you. I see that your channel is well over 10,000 subscribers now. And so for everybody watching, like for us all to get to know each other, in the comments, if you would, leave your name and what city you're from so we know how far we're reaching with this show. And, you can find me on Facebook and YouTube if you want to connect with me as well. But yeah, make sure you drop your name in the comments. And while you're going ahead and clicking around doing these things, go ahead and hit the subscribe button so that you can come back and see the shows again. So, but I'm very excited to be here today.
I'm excited having you. And it's always a conversation when we touch base. And I enjoy what you're savvy in the martial arts, because folks, if you're having trouble with your martial arts school or you're starting up a martial arts school, there's one of the best individuals on how to do the martial art business is Richard Hackworth. Talk to him. Martial arts is a business. It's always been a business. Those that say that it isn't, well, they have a different mentality, but martial arts training, fighting sciences, what have you, have always been a business. And it's been a business since the Victoria area to the Renaissance and all the way down to the Romans. You had to learn how to defend yourself. You paid somebody else to teach you. And if you had the nobles did that, and it's still the same way now. Unfortunately, you said something there about martial arts being a lifestyle. A lot of individuals in today's society think of it as just a hobby or a trend or something to do. Like a lot of parents call me, I just want my child to do something. But cut the grass and throw out the trash. That's putting them to do something. That teaches them discipline as well. But so people do not. I want to get your ideas behind that. how do you get people out of that mindset?
I think a lot of it has to be the culture within the school, to create an environment where people are connected. And it's not just some place you go and work out and you're passing people back and forth in a gym. This is something where you interact, you hold pads for each other, you train together, so all of these connections grow into relationships of people, like-minded people who are all looking for a way to do some self-improvement. And so, like I said, whether it's mental, physical, spiritual, you have that path through the martial arts lifestyle if you have a good instructor, I'll say. And as far as it being a business, it's so much more than that. I feel that like great martial arts instructors like yourself and other grandmasters that I know, it's a calling, much like the church might be considered a calling for some people. And they do it out of a love for helping and serving others, not just as an income, but it is, a source of income for the instructors as it should be. And today, it is a recognized, legitimate career path. You can get university degrees related to the martial arts. And I know, like in Japan, it's really big. Judo University and all the colleges have martial arts programs. In Korea, I got to participate in some of the programs at Yongin University and Kyunghee University, the Incheon Sports College. So it is a legitimate field of study. And the great thing about that is that as opposed to just being a couple of roughnecks, teaching some local kids how to throw fists, this is instilling, like you said, discipline as well, which a lot of times they're not getting at home. And a lot of that, I know some of it could be picked up a little better by the parents. But now, in today's environment, you've got two income families. Both parents are working. There's not a parent at home when those kids get home from school to supervise and educate and teach them these things. So when we have them in class, it's an opportunity for us to help give them those character traits and that strong moral character that they're not getting fully developed at home just because of a lack of time in connection between the parents and the children. And for adults, the martial arts lifestyle can be so deep. I think that the martial arts relationships that I have with people in the martial arts community, the closest I can compare it to is the brotherhood that's felt among military and law enforcement personnel. They're not, they don't just look at each other as coworkers and professional colleagues. They're brothers. And I'm sure that there's a lot of that going on in the culture of your school as well. I see it, in the videos that you share on your channel. And so that's the best avenue I can think of for a grown-up, because very few people have friends at work that they go do anything with, or they're married, they got kids at home, so they're going to work, coming home paying bills, and then going back to work. So martial arts gives them an outlet to work out physically, to have social interaction with other like-minded people, and to just strengthen their spirit and understand that hey, all of us are going through this. All of us face all these same struggles, with working day in and day out to pay the bills and provide for our families. So if you're a dad that has kids doing martial arts or not, I highly recommend that you look at martial arts as the way for you to get in your camaraderie, your friendships, your exercise, and your self-discipline, because nothing builds strength of character and confidence like doing something rigorous on a regular basis. And when you start hitting those mats and pounding the heavy bags and even learning how to spar, there's a level of confidence you're going to achieve that you will not get from reading any book ever created. And I'm sure you would agree. Hey, would you like to share some tips on that, like what
Sure.
you've seen with students of yours?
I'm going to go back because you touched on a lot of points, and one of the main points that I see, and you said it right there, is that camaraderie, that fellowship, that it's instilled in certain schools. Not all the schools have it, and it has to be based on the instructor. And remember, you are a reflection of those that taught you. And if your instructor was with that base of fellowship and the school had that type of camaraderie, you're going to pass that on to others. And that's just the way it is. And those are the traits that, as you do an apprenticeship, as you move on and become, because a lot of people say, they get a silver glove or in Savate, which is the highest technical grade, one of them, and then you have a black belt, can go out there and teach. You actually have to start an apprenticeship for you to be able to teach. So those apprenticeships are what is now lacking in today's martial art schools, the majority of them. But there's some of these schools that still have that in there, very much embedded in there. And those students that grow from those and become young instructors and go out, they carry those forward. And and you see that, and you're correct. I also tell people this. A lot of folks tell me, well, I'm going to wait till a friend of mine, and maybe I can get a friend of mine to go join class. Or maybe I'm going to, I'll join after I lose weight, or I'll join after I stretch myself out. Folks, every time you go to a martial arts school, you're going to go in there, you're going to make friends, like you said. You're going to be around like-minded people. You're going to start hanging around with them. Maybe that person says, hey, man, you know what? We go and we power lift. Would you like to join us? And they power lift afterward. So those bonds develop, becomes bigger. There's a lot more to it than just that. Okay. There's a lot of networking involved in the martial arts as well. There's a lot of other things that you get out of it. Why? Because you're with people that are pushing you to move forward. And you have, like I said, you have to find that group that's going to push you to move forward. And martial arts does that. A lot of martial arts do that.
Yeah, I think you make a very good point there. And one of the reasons that I believe people connect so well, like I said, like a brotherhood through the martial arts culture at their school, is that most people, like black belts and instructors, they're not just leaders of the class, but they create these connections through their interaction. And there's three things that I see good black belts and instructors doing. And you don't have to wait till you're a black belt to do it. You can do it, if you're a green belt helping white belts. But you want to learn how to connect with these people. So you want to do three things. You want to compliment them when they do something good. You want to congratulate them when they achieve something new. And you want to console them if you know they're suffering in some area of their life. And if you can do those three things to connect with people as a leader in your school, or especially as an instructor, then you're going to have a culture that is unbreakable in their relationship, in their bonds.
Yes, I agree. And it takes time to build that culture inside, because you come in, you bring in a lot of students from all types of backgrounds. They start funneling themselves in, and some of them weed themselves out naturally. Some of them for whatever reason, and you'll start getting that core group, and that core group is going to be the magnet that attracts others that come into the school.
Yeah, that's so true. And I think another thing that I've experienced, one of the things I learned through the instructor's course in Korea, was that as a teacher, we want to do three things to facilitate these relationships within the school as far as the culture goes. And, one is we're educating. We are teaching techniques, philosophy, history of our art. So we're educating there. But beyond that, when they learn these techniques, they master these skills, they're becoming empowered. Because when they realize now that, hey, I have a hook punch that can break a jaw, that that's a level of confidence that you're not going to get from riding an exercise bicycle or just lifting weights. These are skills and attributes that you develop. And then the other thing I've noticed about really good instructors, and I know, like coming from with you, like in a boxing and savate background, like the pad drills and stuff, that stuff is fun. people enjoy doing it. So, not only are you educating and empowering them, but you're entertaining them as well because you're giving them fun options to develop those attributes and skills. And I can tell you, like, from everything I do in my life, if I didn't find some enjoyment in what I was learning or what I was going to achieve from doing it, I wasn't going to stick with it. Nobody does. So being able to communicate in a way that's, empowering and entertaining on top of being educational is the real secret to successful martial arts schools. The real secret isn't slick advertising. The real secret is creating a culture that makes people want to bring their friends to class. Like, man, you're not going to believe how much fun this is and what a great group of people there are there. And so they naturally, and I get that, people show up in class. Hey, Grandmaster Hackworth, this is Bill. He's one of my coworkers, and I just brought him to class with me. Is it okay if he tries class tonight? I'm sure. If he's a friend of yours, he's always welcome here. And that's a better, more empowering way of attracting new students and growing the culture and friendships in your school than anything you can do through advertising. Or that's how I feel anyway.
I know, absolutely. It's and like I said, the network that you come out within martial arts, it's in boxing and in the fighting sciences, is grand. You can take a boxing club or a karate school that does a lot of tournaments or what have you, any martial arts school that does a lot of tournaments. You're going to travel out of town. You're going to meet new people. You're going to exchange ideas. You're going to befriend many, even though their students might be competing against yours. You guys are going to cheer each other up once whoever student wins and continues moving up. And you should see that in boxing. You see it in savate. Yes, there was that rivalry, but if that student won the regionals and was going off to state, they were behind you 100%. And that type of network is gold. And I always say this: it's not your net worth, it's your network. And how can you network with people that's valuable?
Yeah, I agree completely. And one of the things, and you're familiar with Robert Parham. I remember you've had him on the show before. And he's one of the people that I've connected with through martial arts that just has always impressed me with his ability to create culture in whatever environment he's in, whether it was boxing or kickboxing, or now he's highly involved in the independent film industry with making movies. And all of that he said, all of that ability to communicate and connect with people came from what he learned by boxing and kickboxing. And I'm thinking, well, he had some really good teachers, on top of just teaching him the boxing skills, to teach him communication skills as well. And those are the kind of things that people get as an attribute or side effect almost of their training that they maybe didn't intend to get, they weren't looking for when they joined, but when it happens and they realize it, it's very, very powerful for
Absolutely.
that individual, especially,
Absolutely. People need to understand that when you train, when you become and it doesn't matter, when you get inside and you start sparring, you start exchanging techniques and you start getting a little bit not physically violent against somebody else, but I'm talking about you're punching each other, you're blocking, and you have that contact. That respect goes up, and you become friends. Period. Doesn't matter. If you're training together in a training hall, you're going to become friends, and that right there, I've seen friendships. Mine, I'm pretty sure you have, that they're 30, 40 years old, and you're still with them, and something happens, and you might be across the world, and something happens, you're right there. You're still conveying, you're still touching base with everybody. That occurs.
Yeah, it's really interesting that you mentioned that, because just a few days ago, I had someone reach out to me on Facebook that found me, and we attended a leadership course through the Taekwondo organization that I belong to in Korea. together in 1985. So 40 years ago, after having spent 5 days training together, this guy still remembers me and I remember him. So you're not going to get those kind of connection in any other environment. I think that martial arts is particularly unique in that way. And like I said, it's all part of the warrior mentality and the warrior ethos that we develop this as a brotherhood. We develop this as a skill set as guardians and protectors of our community. And when people realize that this is a lifelong path that you can follow, and that's why I tell people, for me, I just stayed on the path. I didn't intend to end up with, these positions in various organizations. I just never quit. And I attended every training opportunity that was presented by the organizations, leadership courses, instructors courses, masters courses, grandmasters conference. And all of those things improved me and brought me to a new level. And I had somebody ask me on a podcast I was on yesterday, well, don't you think that you would learn these things on your own eventually just through practice? I'm like, no, absolutely not. And I compare it to, the mentoring that you get in the martial arts is there's no replacement for it. And so let's take a look at this. Say that you build concert pianos. You were taught how to take the little pieces of wood, glue them together to make the keys, how to stretch the wires and build the frame and all of this stuff to make concert pianos. If you never learned how to read music, if you never learned how to play the piano, you are not accidentally going to become a world-class concert pianist because you learned how to glue the blocks together. Absolutely. Practice doesn't lead to those insights. Only your teacher can pass that on to you. And if you think otherwise, and I've seen people make that mistake, like, oh, I've been training with this guy for 10 years. I know everything he knows. Oh, you're not even close. You're not even scratching the surface. Your instructor has more than 40 or 50 years under his belt, championship titles from before you were born. And you want to delude yourself into believing that you know everything he knows. And it's just funny when you realize that people are starting to get that mentality. And every now and then, and I bring this up because I made that mistake before. And when there was something that happened that made me realize I am nowhere close to knowing as much as my grandmaster. And it was a very humbling experience to realize that his education was so far beyond mine that the only way I was going to reach those levels was to attend similar education courses and through his mentorship. And it's the mentorship that is the shortcut. When you try to take shortcuts in your training, the only thing getting cut short is you and your skill level. But when you have a mentor guiding you and telling you the tips and tricks that they've learned along the way, that is the only valid shortcut you're ever going to find to bring you to those higher levels. And I know I'm getting a little preachy there, but what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, you mentioned something, and I'm going to change it just a bit because you said about going to all the classes and the courses and the trainings sessions to become better. That happens regardless of style, and that only happens to those that are willing to learn. Okay, many people can have it's right in front of them, and these courses are for this, these courses are for that. We're going to be teaching this course for this level, what have you. And they will never show up to none of the workshops, none of the training sessions. And then they look at others and say, well, those are the dedicated individuals that do that. But what happens is when you get with like-minded people that are pushing each other, the level goes up. And not only would it help you do that there, it's going to help you do it out in the business world that you work in or in the vocation that you're in. Well, guess what? Let's say I've had students here that are doctors, lawyers, school grade housewives, school grade kids. I've had them all leveled of all different vocations. But when you start training and you start wanting to learn more, let's say you're a painter, they're going to be teaching this new technique over in Sherman-Williams. That person's signing up. I want to learn that. Why? Because he wants to better. And those habit buildings for trying to excel are produced by those instructors and that cultural schools that we talked about. Those that push you better. And I hate to say this. My uncle used to say, "Tell me your friends, and I'll tell you who you are." And that is a true statement. You are who you hang with. And if you go to a school that is pushing people to become better, believe me, you're going to become better in all the different areas. If you go to a school that kids are kicking sloppy and everybody's kicking sloppy and they really don't care about what you do, believe me, that's what you're going to turn out. So it's that obsession, that determination that is needed in the martial arts schools, and they give you that. They give you that because you're going to push each other through it.
Yeah, and I know that one of the things that I've picked up on is the training environment itself is a way to inspire people, and that was one of the things I liked about a recent video of yours that I saw when you were talking about the knife. In the background, I could see like the Indian clubs and the different weights and things, and this is a place just from the environment that I could see at that people are becoming stronger physically, which leads them to being stronger mentally, and they achieve on such high levels. And I tell parents that come in, yeah, your kid's only in the fourth grade right now. The environment of the school is very important because, except for the high school and college students, people that are still studying, all of my adult students are degreed professionals. They're business owners, they're doctors, lawyers, college professors, surgeons. I have 2 surgeons that are students of mine. And you can't escape the fact that this is a path to higher achievement. And I don't think a lot of people, it's not commonly talked about, but if you take a look at every high level military officer and every high level CEO in the Fortune 500 companies, nearly 100% of them are black belts in some martial art. And that is not by accident. Those people learned the discipline that took them to be the top 1% in their industry from the martial arts training that they received and being a part of that martial arts lifestyle and culture. And so if you're a parent looking to put your kids in something that's going to guarantee their success academically and in career fields, I highly recommend martial arts as a path to that. We have a lot of students. We've helped students get scholarships to medical school and different universities through our school. So, like I said, if you want to see your child, or if you as an adult want to start reaching a higher level, martial arts is a path to do that.
Absolutely, you're absolutely correct, and that right there those are key words. That's a key for those of you that are listening out there. That's where it's at right there. Now, also be careful. Just like we're talking about martial arts, that's what we've been seeing the benefits here. There's also some other. There's some schools that it's just like everything else. You have to be careful. Like I said, that saying, you have to be who you hang with. If you go to a school that all you have is a bunch of gangbangers trying to beat up people, well, guess what's going to happen to your son, your daughter, or yourself? That's the type of element you're going to try to get. So, right. The school that you're going to, and to separate those from the others, go try a class, look at the type of people that are there. And I would say this, look at the senior students of the class. Don't look at the instructor. Look at the senior students, because that's how you're going to come out.
Yeah, exactly. That's a very valid point. And even though you're looking at the students, I think that instructor qualification and experience is highly important. And I see parents that make the mistake of they want to go someplace that looks like I call it a studio. It's not a training environment. I mean, it's pretty, it's clean, and it's painted and well decorated in some shopping center. But that's not the environment that develops the type of confidence, skills, and attributes that create strong moral character and strong physical bodies. So if somebody's been around, they've been teaching for 40 or 50 years, that doesn't happen by accident. People in your community would not have kept coming to them for the last 40 and 50 years if they weren't good at what they do. And you'll be able to validate this for me. There are times that people come in, they're like, hey, Grandmaster Hackworth, I don't know if you remember me. My name's Robbie, and this is my son. I was in your class when I was in middle school, and it changed my life. And I want my son to get those benefits from martial arts training. And I know that you are able to do that. And when you're teaching the next generation of people, or another example I had a female that joined and was in my class, and she later got pregnant. And then when her daughter got old enough to train, she began in our school. And guess what? Later, the daughter went off to college, got married, came back, started back to class, had dropped out for a little while because she had a son. When the son turned 6, he joined the class. I had 3 generations of that family training in my school at the same time because they understood the value of what they were getting. And the price is irrelevant at that point. And I tell people, I make no apologies for the fact that I do charge more than the other schools in the area because I have more to offer. And I've told people before as well, and it might sound arrogant, look, if you can find a better school and better teaching than what we have here, come back and let me know. And we will both go there. But until then, I promise you, you're going to get the results you're looking for in our school.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You said an excellent point there. It's when you've been teaching and training for a long time, it says it gives a gap. It's that gap of experience, success. And I'm not talking about success producing world champions now. I'm talking about success producing people in good citizens of society, right? That's what you're trying to do for. And that to me is gold. It's golden. When you see somebody that started with you and they were in high school, and all of a sudden you see them in college, starts taking your classes in college, takes off to police academy, and ends up becoming a Texas Ranger. That to me is golden because it shows you the discipline that they did. It shows you that goal setting they got. Again, it's determination, right? When you have a kid that comes in there that has B's and C's and ends up becoming a dentist, ends up becoming a doctor, okay, because it was that discipline pushed them through. Those are great to me. That's golden. Or the young kid that was getting in trouble and comes inside, and all of a sudden now he starts getting straight A's, and all of a sudden he's a young entrepreneur and has 2-3 different restaurants, not only in your town, in other towns. That you see that's what teaching is all about. Nobody's going to be making Jedi Knights or what have you, right? Nobody's going to go off chasing a holy grail. But what we're going to be doing is building people for it to continue moving forward. And God forbid they have to use the martial arts one day. But if they do, they're going to have enough skill to at least get out of that situation.
Well, I know for me, a good example is that I have a person that's he's been an instructor in my school before. He started with me when he was a high schooler, and he is now 50 years old. His children are grown. They had been in our program. His professional career took him to another city, and he reached out to me a few months ago and said, listen, I want to open a school. And I'm like, I'm really surprised. I mean, I know that he went with me twice to Korea to attend instructors training. And but he said it's always been in his heart. He's always wanted to do it. And because of his profession, he has an income that allows him to make that investment to open a school. And I said, well, I'm behind you. Any way I can help. And he said, I would not even attempt to do this if you weren't going to guide me on how to manage the school. But so we're working very closely together on that new location. But like I said, this is a guy that I just kept kind of giving him the nudge, over the years. Hey, after third degree, why don't you come to Korea? Let's get you to the instructor's course. 4 years later, he was able to attend the master's course, and I think he attended the master's course in 1995. And so here we are 30 years later. Being a part of our school has had such an impact on him that he wants to start dedicating a part of his life to doing it and to continue on after he retires from his current profession. And I just think that shows the level of impact and the level of influence that we have as a good instructor over the career focus and mentality of the people that we're leading.
Absolutely. And that's what that's what I want. I want people that are going to continue passing on the tradition that was passed on to me. That's what you look forward to. You produce, we produce a lot of coaches in the different ranks, and they've gone up to the initiadors and the monitors of Sabat. And that's what you're looking for. You're looking for them to continue spreading the art. But again, like I tell people, and like you said there, you have to do an apprenticeship. You have to go to those courses. You have to go to the training. You have to go do that stuff. You can't just say, guess what? I want to go teach tomorrow. It's not going to happen. What you be that assistant instructor, be that coach that's inside the school, learn what it's doing. When they tell you, what, you teach a class, don't say, yeah, I'll be there. And then all of a sudden you don't show up. Have that dedication.
Yeah.
That's when it starts. You're learning that. So, and you push that into people as well. You have people that say, okay, I want to become a coach. Sure. I need you here Tuesdays and Thursdays. All of a sudden Tuesdays and Thursdays comes around. They're not there. But then the other person that's a coach is there every day. You know what I'm saying? Those are the ones that are going to continue moving out. Some of them weed themselves out, and some of them would surprise you in the future. And
you're right. And I have been surprised a few times because there are two different levels of people that talk about wanting to become a coach or an instructor. One is curious about it. They think it might be fun or something more exciting, or they like the prestige of the position. And then the other ones aren't curious. They're committed. They know from the benefits they've received from your training as their teacher, coach, and mentor that is something they want to do. They want to carry on the traditions of your school and be a part of that for their life. And to me, I think that's one of the greatest compliments you can ever receive. And I tell people, that, and, if you really want to compliment your instructor, bring your friends to class, because nothing says, I respect and appreciate you as my teacher, like telling other people about them. And it really means a lot to us. Your referral as a student, recommending your friends and family really touches us more than you might understand.
Absolutely. You said some great words of wisdom there for those people out there watching. And pay attention, folks. Pay attention, because I see a lot of individuals that want to become instructors but don't want to put their time in. Put your time in. Learn.
Well, I just want to say, I know that I kind of went a little over the time limit maybe, but I just want to say that a lot of the things that we've talked about today are influences that you can get from my book, Be a Life Champion, The Martial Arts Way by Richard Hackworth. It's available on Amazon in paperback and hardcover. And, if you get it, reach out to me. I would love to get your feedback on it, and just let me know, because we're continually updating information and adding to it. So right now, the first edition is out, and I appreciate everybody's support on it. So far, it's been overwhelming. And just thank you for your time today. Thank you, Professor, for allowing me to be a guest on your podcast. I really appreciate the opportunity. And I just wanted to thank everybody, and have a good day.
Anytime. Listen, I want to thank you for touching on a subject that many people overlook. And folks, if you're interested in martial arts, go look at a school. Don't be afraid of going in, talking to them. He mentioned something there about pricing. Find out what the pricing is. Don't go with the cheapest one. Why? Because right now, every school anywhere, especially here in Texas, the martial art price is going to be anywhere between $150 to $300. And why? Because of the locations, the rent, and so on and so forth is very, very high. So understand that most of these instructors are paying for just to keep the location open, to give you all a service. So understand that. So once more, we leave you with this. You all stay safe, be safe, and God bless you all. Till next time, my brother, you stay safe.
Thank you.
So when I was working on Selena, the series for Netflix, to play the role of Abraham Quintanilla, I put on a specific amount of weight, which I was fine doing, but also realizing it could be difficult to get that weight off. I got back into my physical regimen with James Leha, but I was still having trouble with just those last amounts. And that's when I got to meet Arturo from Laredo Medical Weight Loss Clinic. And just the products that he gave me kind of put me over the edge. I feel great about myself.